The emergency room doctor looked at Muhammad Ali sitting on the examination table, blood seeping through the bandage on his forehead, and shook his head with visible disgust. "I don't treat black athletes at this hospital," Dr. Harrison said coldly, his voice loud enough for every nurse and patient to hear. "You people belong at the charity hospital across town, not here with decent patients." What Dr. Harrison didn't know was that Muhammad Ali was about to respond in a way so powerful and dignified that it would change not just the doctor, but everyone in that Louisville hospital forever. Before we dive into this incredible story of the greatest facing medical discrimination in his own hometown, take a moment to comment below and let us know where you're watching from today. If you believe every human deserves medical care and dignity, hit that like button and subscribe. Stories like this show that true champions fight for justice, even when they are bleeding and in pain. It was a sweltering afternoon in July 1967 when Muhammad Ali's training session at his childhood gym in Louisville took a dangerous turn. He had been working with a new sparring partner, a young heavyweight from Chicago whose enthusiasm exceeded his skill. A wild hook sent both men crashing into the ring post. Ali slipped the punch, but his momentum carried him forward, pivoting just as their heads collided. His skull struck the metal turnbuckle, opening a deep gash above his left eyebrow that immediately began bleeding. Angelo Dundee, Ali's longtime trainer and cornerman for nearly every important fight, felt his stomach drop at the sight of the injury. The cut was jagged and nearly 3 inches long, with blood soaking through the towel they had pressed against it. In boxing, even minor cuts could end careers if not properly treated. This was serious enough to require immediate professional medical attention. Within minutes, Ali was in the passenger seat of Dundee's Cadillac, towel pressed against his forehead, racing through the humid streets of Louisville towards St. Mary's Hospital. The ride seemed endless. Ali remained calm, cracking occasional jokes to reassure his trainer that he was alert. Dundee kept glancing at him, watching for signs of concussion or disorientation, silently hoping this injury would derail Ali's career just as he was preparing for a comeback. 1967 had been a difficult year for Ali on many fronts. Just months earlier, on April 28, he had refused induction into the U.S. Army at the Houston Draft Board, citing his religious beliefs as a member of the Nation of Islam and his opposition to the Vietnam War. His famous line, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong," had reverberated worldwide, making him a hero to some and a villain to others. The consequences were swift. The New York State Athletic Commission suspended his boxing license. Other state commissions followed suit, and the World Boxing Association stripped him of his heavyweight title. Ali faced up to 5 years in federal prison and a $10,000 fine. Charges were pending while he awaited his fate in court. The controversy had transformed him from America's beloved Olympic hero into one of the country's most polarizing figures. Death threats arrived regularly. Former fans burned his photographs in the streets. Editorial writers denounced him as unpatriotic and ungrateful. The man once celebrated for his charisma and athletic genius was now viewed by many as a traitor. Still, Ali returned to Louisville, hoping to find some peace while his legal battles played out. He trained regularly, maintaining his physical condition for the day he could return to the ring, and sought a semblance of normalcy in a life turned upside down by his principled stand against a war he could not support. St. Mary's Hospital stood as a monument to Louisville's medical establishment. Its red brick facade and manicured grounds reflected the wealth and prestige of the families it traditionally served. Founded in the early 1900s as a private institution for the city's elite, the hospital had evolved slightly under civil rights pressure, but old attitudes persisted in the segregated South. As Ali walked through the automatic doors of the emergency room, towels soaked with blood, heads turned. Some recognized the heavyweight champion despite his disheveled appearance, while others simply stared at the tall black man whose presence commanded attention even while injured. The triage nurse, Betty Collins, a middle-aged white woman with 15 years of experience at St. Mary's, looked up as Ali approached. Her eyes widened in recognition, but she quickly focused on the severity of his injury. "Sir, you need immediate attention for that head wound," she said, voice carrying concern and authority. "Let me get you into an examination room right away." Before she could stand, a voice from across the emergency room interrupted. "Nurse Collins, what do you think you're doing? It was Dr. Richard Harrison, head of emergency medicine at St. Mary's, whose reputation for skill was matched only by his rigid views on race. Harrison, in his early 50s, was a third-generation Louisville physician. He had grown up in segregated schools, trained in an era that taught racial hierarchy, and built a career around the belief that certain people didn't belong in certain places. Approaching the triage desk with confident authority, Harrison's white coat seemed like armor. He had built his reputation on surgical skill and absolute control over his domain. He saw Ollie as a violation of the social order he believed in. "Dr. Harrison, this patient has a serious head injury," Nurse Collins said, her voice trembling slightly but resolute. Harrison's eyes swept over Ollie, taking in his workout clothes, sweat-soaked appearance, and most importantly, his race. "I can see exactly who this patient is," he said, voice rising. "Muhammad Ali, the so-called heavyweight champion who refused to serve his country. Let me be clear, I don't treat black athletes at this hospital. You belong at the charity hospital across town, not here with decent, God-fearing patients who deserve proper care." The emergency room went silent. Patients gasped. Some shifted nervously, unsure how to respond. Collins's face burned with embarrassment and anger, yet she stayed silent. James Washington, a young black orderly from Louisville's West End, clenched his fists in disbelief. He had grown up following Ali's career with pride, and now watched his hero humiliated. Ali, however, did not react with anger. Instead, he slowly lowered the towel and looked at Dr. Harrison with calm, dignified authority, appearing larger and more commanding than the man trying to humiliate him. "Doctor," Ali said quietly, his voice rhythmic yet firm, "I understand that you don't want to treat me, and I respect your right to feel however you want about me and my decisions." Harrison's confident expression faltered. He had expected anger or pleading, not calm, reasoned words. Ali continued, voice growing stronger. "But I want to ask a question everyone here can hear. When you went to medical school, when you took your oath, did they teach you to see black patients or white patients? Or did they teach you to see human beings who needed healing?" The question hung in the air. Ali's challenge was not accusatory but philosophical, forcing Harrison to examine the ethics of his profession. Harrison opened his mouth but struggled for words. This was not the confrontation he expected. "When you see me standing here bleeding," Ali pressed on, "do you see Muhammad Ali, the boxer who refused Vietnam? Do you see a black man who doesn't belong here? Or do you see a human being with a head injury who needs care?" Nurses and staff gathered around, drawn to the extraordinary exchange. Among them, Dr. Sarah Chun, a young resident, watched in admiration as Ali's composure and moral clarity transformed the tense room. "Here's what I see when I look at you, Doctor," Ali said, voice rising with passion. "I see a man who has dedicated his life to healing, who took an oath to help people regardless of who they are or where they come from. You say I don't belong here with decent, God-fearing patients. But if God created all of us in his image, how can any child of his be more deserving of healing than another? How can a doctor, whose job is to be God's instrument of healing, decide who deserves care and who doesn't?" The emergency room was moved. Ali's words transcended medicine, touching on human worth, morality, and divine purpose. James Washington felt his anger transform into awe, witnessing his hero turn discrimination into a lesson on dignity and truth. "I know you don't like me. I know you disagree with my choices about the war. That's your right," Ali said, calm yet powerful. "But before I was Muhammad Ali the boxer, before I took a stand on Vietnam, I was a human being created by God, needing compassion like anyone else here." Dr. Harrison stood frozen, caught between prejudice and professional duty, as Ali continued. "You have the power to help me or turn me away. You have the knowledge to heal or let me suffer. But your choice won't change who I am or what I believe about human dignity. The measure of a man isn't who he agrees with or who looks like him. The measure of a man is how he treats others when he has the power to help or harm. Right now, Doctor, that power is in your hands." The room fell silent. Even Harrison's breathing sounded loud. Dr. Chin stepped forward. "Dr. Harrison, I'd be honored to treat Mr. Ali if you prefer not to." The tension was palpable. Ali's words pierced Harrison's prejudice. He finally spoke quietly. "No, Dr. Chun, I'll treat Mr. Ali myself." Harrison led Ollie to exam room 3, hands trembling. The ER watched in silence. He cleaned the wound and stitched it with the skill that had earned his reputation, pausing occasionally as if reconciling his actions with his conscience. "Mr. Ollie," Harrison said quietly, "I need to apologize. What I said was wrong, against everything I swore to uphold as a doctor." Ollie responded with compassion. "Doctor, we all make mistakes when fear or prejudice clouds our judgment. What matters is learning and growing from them." After finishing the stitches, Harrison admitted, "You've reminded me why I became a doctor." He pledged to prevent such discrimination, ensuring equal care for all patients. Word spread quickly through St. Mary's. Policies changed. Harrison became a mentor on ethics and equality, and staff, including Washington and Dr. Chun, carried the lessons forward. As Ollie left that July afternoon, head bandaged, he had turned hatred into understanding, discrimination into growth. The story became legendary in Louisville and beyond. For Ollie, it was a reminder: true champions fight not just in the ring, but for justice, equality, and human dignity. Real strength is extending hands in peace, and real courage is standing for what is right. Muhammad Ali exemplified that truth, not just as a fighter, but as a human being.